All right, so now let's talk about what is the need for cloudifying your business. So let's talk about the database server. So back in the day, I used to work with Oracle databases, and let's say you wanted to set up a database to serve your business, as in like store all the structured data inside it. This is what it used to look like. The big boxes are Solaris servers, which used to cost anywhere between 1 million to ridiculous amounts of money. Oh, and then the left side is the primary database, which is basically where you store your primary data, while the one on the right side is a secondary database, which is a copy that is maintained in real time. Uh, and basically, if the first part wipes out, uh, like the primary wipes out, the secondary takes over, the standby takes over. Simple enough, right? So now this is how it used to be set up. That little box that you look at, that's a Sun server. And basically, I'm a short guy, so next to that, I'll be looking pretty tiny. But it's about 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet. You need like a crane to move that. So that used to be a Solaris server with, I would say, like 92 CPUs and 200 gigabytes of RAM. So you physically had to set these up into your data center that you manage. Uh, Now the data center needs somebody needs to be able to set these up. Somebody needs to be able to wire these, and as in the power, as well as the networking and all that. So two of these server setups. Now the next thing, you need to create a disk array because these guys need a shared uh, disks, which is called a cluster file system. So I don't know if you can tell, but those are actually hard disks, those white squares. Um, so the array will look like that, and then you'll connect that with the fiber channels, the black lines. Next thing, you need a dedicated switch. I don't know if you have seen these things, but it's like a router without the routing. It's just a switch. A dedicated switch, so only these two machines can talk with each other and nothing else. Then you add it to the main network. So this Mr. Computer can access it. And this would take anywhere between 2 to 3 days at least. And this is just the physical part. Then I would start working on configuring the software part, and that would be another 2 days. So 5 days of work. Now, to maintain this, you need a network administrator. You need a Solaris administrator. You need a area which is fire protected, humidity protected, but it needs to be a special kind of building that you need to set security controls on. So all of this thing would cost you, like an average company, anywhere between $20 million to $100 million per year. But that's still not the fun part. Like the biggies, big guns are happy paying the bill. Now this is what we had to deal with. Those are network cables behind an array of physical servers, and I show a few more examples going down. And those are the disk arrays where individual disk fails. We had to pull that disk out and we had to replace it physically by hand by going into a data center like this, which would be like 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Uh, but this is what used to go back in the day. And now with the cloud, you don't do anything. Like it's just basically uh, click a button and your resources are allocated. All you got to do is like connect your physical facility, like where the bank tellers and all those guys sit, and connect it to the cloud, which is basically Amazon's big data centers, which are scattered across the globe, so provide high availability. And like if one center goes down, then other center will take over. Uh, Now, the advantages of this, like I'm not going to go into fancy terms because this is the advantage of cloud computing. Now, people don't know how to make the most of what all this has to offer, but this is the biggest benefit. Like all this maintenance and installation goes away. Now, you guys would want to look at some fancy graphs and elasticity and high availability and like all those nonsensical terms that, well, they're not nonsensical terms, but they unnecessarily make things complicated. So, talking about a conventional data center, the gray graphs that you're looking at, that's what the capacity allocated is. Once those two servers are in, that's all I can have for like the next 3 years. Uh, that used to be the average turnaround time for maintaining or like replacing the servers. So during this time, Jan Feb are high business wise, high volume months. And in those months, you need more capacity. But what you have is the gray one, which is less than what you need. So your machines are constrained. The user experience is bad because things slow down. Now, March, April, May, June, the requirement goes down. Now, in this time, your CPU or like the machine utilization is 25%, while 75% of those resources are wasted. July, once again, it goes back up. Now you need even more resources, which you don't have, and so on and so forth. But in the cloud, you can resize your machines on the fly. Like that, all that excess capacity that you won't be using in May and June, you just give it back to the cloud, uh, and the cloud uses it for some other customer. So it's basically the number of customers they have is humongous, and that's why you can share the computing capacity between multiple uh, clients, and that's what they are saving a ton of money doing that, and they just pass you on the savings. So that's how you save in cloud. The other thing, whatever capacity you need, uh, the brown part is actually your allocated capacity, while the blue line is your capacity requirement. So at all times, you are ahead of what you need. So that's the other benefit, and you can just on the fly add capacity. And this is getting too long. So this is what it looks like in terms of the light blue color is the excess capacity, all the money. Like basically 2010, you bought something, and the red is what you need. So in 2010, you had excess capacity. By 2012, you are in the red. Like you need more capacity, your machines are not able to serve. So that whole boxes and wiring and all that needs to be done all over again. Once again, 3 years later in 2015, you're back to the same position. 2019, basically 2016, you got frustrated. So this is like real life examples happening. Companies investing millions of dollars just to avoid running into that red zone. And a ton of waste of money, and basically cloud solves the problem because you can allocate more capacity, you can reduce capacity on the fly. That's pretty much it, guys. Nothing more to it. All right, so let's talk about. So all this needs to sit in a network, and all these machines are virtual machines. That's why the capacity management is so easy. So we'll talk about those in the next chapters. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next chapter.